That is not what we're talking about today. Oh my God, am I having to sit through an ad? I guess that's only fair, right?
Hey, make a note. Let's invest in some monitors.
Hey everybody, welcome to the RetroBlasting live stream. We do it every other Saturday. You know who I am because I'm in all the videos.
Because he's very famous.
No, it's because everyone's always...
Would you like his autograph?
Because people are always mad at me. To my left is one of the hosts of the RetroBlasting podcast.
I'm Aaron.
And to my right is the other host of Dreamland, the RetroBlasting podcast.
Yo, what's up? It's Melinda.
Really? Really?
I'm so white. I'm sorry, everybody.
Don't ever
I'm
do
sorry.
that again.
Sorry, I was just trying to mix
Boomer in the nudge.
Boomer in the nudge.
Honk, honk.
Horrible.
Sorry.
Horrible. Okay, so what you've picked the topic for today. Okay, so first of all,
yeah, and that's where my mind shut off. I was like, "There's the topic."
Let us know if you can hear us all.
Take two.
Let us know if you can hear us all. First of all, okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing we always do, which is open Q&A. We're going to try and keep up with those. If we can't, we apologize. Questions come in fast and furious. But our overarching topic for today is something that Melinda came up with, which is a spin on the topic from the last live stream. Explain how this works.
Yeah, so our last live stream was pretty well received. It seemed like people had a lot of fun, and you guys had a lot of fun in the comments section. And so we thought we would sort of continue on with that. Aaron wasn't here last time, so we wanted to bring him in on this craziness. And so basically what we do is we bring up a show, a movie, whatever it is. In this case, it's going to be 80s primetime TV shows. And we're going to, like, sort of argue it out because there's probably going to be one of us who likes it and another one who doesn't like it. And we're going to show you guys that it's okay to disagree about, you know, the things that we love or hate. And we can still all be friends, and it's funny to watch us disagree with things. So that's kind of the gist. I'm not saying this very well.
You did great.
She's doing the Ron Burgundy. We are joking. We are laughing. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about primetime television from the 80s. That means live action, not animated.
Right.
And it also means that we're not all sure. We were all asked to pick 2 to 4 television shows, and we're not all sure how everybody feels about those. So there's going to be a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing, I believe, going on. Is that right?
Yeah, so basically, first of all, real quick, Scott, thank you for the super chat. Scott says, audio's good. I've got my bourbon. Let's talk TV. How did they get Airwolf so right and Blue Thunder so wrong?
I thought I liked Scott for a second.
So the way this is going to work is we've picked 10 different shows that the three of us have seen and that we can talk about, probably have some, you know, we're not probably going to talk a lot about things like, say, the A-Team or Knight Rider, where everybody loves those shows, or at least everybody up here loves those shows. So if there's no arguing, then it's not fun to watch. So we're going to pick shows that are, like, popular and you've heard of them, but they may be like, oh yeah, what about that show? And then you guys can sort of play along and kind of try to guess who's going to like it and who's not going to like it. There's a lot of space up here this time. So that's because Tim over there is going to be putting up an image in this thing over there, I think, over Aaron's head. And it's going to show you what show we're talking about as we're talking about it. So anyway, that's kind of how this is going to work. But we will also be taking questions in between the shows we're talking about. So if you put stuff in the chat room, we will get to those in between shows. So that's how we're going to try to make this work. And are we ready for the first show, Tim?
When you are.
Yeah, you just throw it up there and then we'll just start talking. So we'll give it a minute, like where we just kind of talk about the show for a minute while you guys sort of debate amongst yourselves who likes the show and who doesn't like the show. So
real quick, what's TV? Is that like when they play the books on a screen and you can read along with? Why is everyone laughing?
yes, I would consider doing the same thing with music, and we will probably do that at some point. So anyway,
that one will get
that's
really
gonna
visceral.
that's gonna be fun.
Mr. Scary wants to know if we'll do the same thing with music.
I just said that.
Oh, I was listening to Aaron.
Well,
Hang on, pocket stenographer. Yes, I would love to do things like
can
that.
we
with
can we
music.
read back the? It's okay. I've done it
Roll
myself.
it back,
So.
roll it back.
All right. So the show that is above your head right now, Aaron, is Miami Vice. So Miami Vice.
Smell it.
Miami Vice
It
is like
smells bourbon and fear.
and cocaine. So much
I don't
cocaine.
know what that smells like.
It smells like blood, is what it smells.
Just like this TV show, everyone.
Oh yeah.
It's smell-o-vision.
I have to get out of here. I'm in danger.
I told you weren't gonna like sit in the middle.
That was
Anyway.
an excellent Simpsons reference, but that's a 90s TV show.
So this show is like a super 80s, quintessential 80s TV show. And did you guys watch these shows did you watch this when it was on, or were your parents like, no,
I
that
was
is...
about to say, I tried to, I'm sure, many times. But it was like, that show smells like cocaine.
WildStar wins.
Who could have told-
Cocaine smells like victory.
Even
Yes,
when you're
WildStar
losing.
Studio, cocaine does smell a lot like victory, but only for that short period of time, like right after you first smell
Here's
it.
how the conversation goes. I won. No, you didn't.
I have an interesting dumb piece of trivia about this show,
Great.
since we're all like, sort of level setting here before we give our real opinion. So
Did you just invalidate my opinion?
no. Coincidentally, or ironically, depending on how you look at it, this show was, I believe, done by Universal, which also did Back to the Future.
Are you saying that there's going to be a theme park?
No. So
I can vouch
the
there
show,
wasn't
of course,
one,
is
but
about,
it was there.
the drug war in Miami with the cops doing their whole drug thing. There were an inordinate number of DeLoreans that kept showing up in this show. And there's one episode
Wait
where
a minute. Are you telling me DeLoreans and cocaine have something in common?
right? So there's one episode.
God.
There's one episode that opens on like a sort of marina area where the you can pull your boat up and take it for. Well, it pans across the marina where the cars are parking up and pulling up next to the bait shop and the this and that. And two of the cars in this group of 5 cars are DeLoreans in one spot. And everybody's like, what? Well, it's just speculation. There's no confirmation of this, but it was said that after Back to the Future Part 1 in '85 was a huge hit, Universal immediately went out and bought up a handful of DeLoreans anticipating a sequel. But then that sequel didn't happen until 1989. And so in the meantime, they were trying to get their money's worth out of the cars. And so allegedly, they put them in Miami Vice a lot in the background to try and use them. But I don't know if there's...
That sounds incredibly likely.
Yeah. And
Jason Anderson says that the episode you're talking about is Glades.
Glades, yes, thank you.
That's insane.
Yeah, but
That
that's...
one smelled like summer breezes.
Right, but that's the fan theory. I don't know if there's any credibility to that or not.
Object of Hate says that I don't seem to be wearing a metal shirt today. No, I'm wearing a Dragon Sound t-shirt. Friends through eternity, loyalty, honesty will stick together through thick or thin. Okay, never mind.
Ooh, McCluber says, I'm still waiting for the RetroBlasting versus Clownfish TV match. Interesting. I've watched a little bit of Clownfish TV. Explain, sir, what would the match be? I don't know what that would look like. Is there an opinion that they have that we have the opposite of? I'm genuinely curious. Let me know.
Eric the Great says, does anyone collect the action figures for Miami Vice? The best accessory is the little cocaine bags.
They keep getting...
It's hard to find them with those still, attached. Like, usually those are the pieces that are always missing from those action figures, I think.
Yeah. Ooh, we have some super chats.
Mark C., thanks for the super chat. Do you think we will ever get reaction figures for Tales of the Gold Monkey, including the goose plane?
I think if we do get those, they're going to have generic card backs. And I say this without a joke because they don't want to show that actor's face on card backs anymore. The guy that ended up playing Decker in the motion picture, who's now
he's now serving time.
Yeah, that's gonna be the clincher on that one.
No.
But I think if we do get toys from Reaction, they'll have generic card backs like the Back to the Future did.
Matt Movies, thanks for the super chat. He says best 80s TV show is A-Team. I mean, if I had to pick my favorite 80s TV show, I'd say Magnum PI. Although I do really like the A-Team. I think it holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
All right. So Jinx.
Now nobody talk.
So somebody up here doesn't like the show. You don't like Miami Vice?
I do not.
I
like it.
I don't like Miami Vice.
Thumbs down for me. And I can tell you why. The
that's
lifestyle, the stories in it, all of the stuff surrounding the drug war in Miami just never appealed to me.
Same.
I never liked the aesthetic of it, the clothes they wore, even the cars that they drove. I mean, while recognizing those are classic cars and there's things to be appreciated, it just was never the image that I wanted to project.
Yes, it was never anything that held my interest at all. Like, I am not interested in the drug war in Florida. I am not interested in cigarette boats. I am not interested in wearing shoes without socks. Like, I'm not interested in any of that kind of thing. Now, I have watched it since as an adult, and I appreciate the production value that went into the show. Like, the show really feels like it's of a higher caliber than your average 80s show. You can tell they put a lot into it. But I take that back. The pilot feels that way.
Yeah.
The subsequent episodes, you can tell they started to cut corners to save money, but
It is easier to appreciate now from this perspective, given what we have on TV today. Looking back, it fits that sort of nostalgia shape that we kind of have sometimes to see these actors and the way that they acted. It's almost like going back to the 50s and 40s where everybody acted like this. You know, there's a style that everybody had in these TV shows that you can appreciate.
Some epic melodrama in the show. It was like, feel something now. And it's like, I don't really want to.
There's something in both my eyes.
It's cocaine.
All right, Melinda, defend the show.
I'm doing it wrong.
So I like the melodrama, number one. I like drama shows in general. I like police shows. I like, crime type related shows. So pretty much anything in that wheelhouse I've always liked, and I probably always will like. I like from all different time periods. So it is not like, it's like you with the mafia. You don't like mafia movies and stuff like that. I love mafia movies. So I just like seeing, how human beings sort of structure these pseudo communities and like with their own rules of how you act that are not based on the rules of society, but they all do have their own social structures. And I know that sounds really lame, but that's kind of what I think is interesting about especially organized crime type shows of like, the rules of how to act when you're in the drug world and all that kind of stuff. So I'm
willing to bet you, though, that if you followed all the rules you learned from that show, you'd be shot within 10 minutes of
Well, I'm sure, but it's just sort of an interesting idea. And certainly when you're like younger and you're just sort of like believing that that's true, you're like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, I don't know, like the cops having to learn the rules because they're pretending to be
right.
I don't know. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I thought Don Johnson was pretty hot as a kid. Like,
as an adult,
I mean, look at that picture of him, Aaron. He's like right above your head. He's like super cute.
As an adult watching it, I ended up really appreciating Tubbs because he's so funny. Like, he's genuinely situationally funny. He is like, he's funny without being the butt of the joke. Like, he's this cutting, humored kind of guy, and I liked him a lot. But it's not a show that I think I would sit down and just throw in casually like I would with A-Team or something like that.
Well, and Melinda, you were saying that you like TV, or you like TV.
I do.
you like crime shows, like procedural crime shows. They're very hit or miss for me. For an example, I really enjoyed Bosch on Amazon. Like, I've enjoyed the books, and the aesthetic of the police department there, specifically Bosch, is something that I think is kind of unique and interesting. So, but it is still a show in many cases about a drug war and things like that going on, especially the latest season. So, I mean, I think there are points where it lines up, but it was something about the clothing and everything else that just didn't really click with me when I was a kid. Probably the beginnings of my 90s slacker tendencies, or just...
Okay.
We have a super chat from Mark C. He says, how do you dislike a TV show where Phil Collins plays a drug lord?
It just was a little too on the nose.
I'm Phil Collins. Not my drugs.
Marty Bryan says, when I hear In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, I think of the show. I mean, that is kind of like what you have to think about.
Around what that song is about, too. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
It's about cocaine.
In the air.
In the air. Warren Kearney says, if I were a rich drug dealer, I'm not driving a DeLorean. If I were a rich drug dealer, I'm not driving a DeLorean. I would want to be able to outrun the cops.
Yeah, that's true.
But see, that is not the image DeLorean sold.
No.
In the 80s, I believe that car could travel through time.
Exactly.
I believe a man could fly and that a car could travel through time.
Right. Although that car totally could not.
Keith Holmesley says, you guys don't like drugs? Don't do drugs. Juan says, I got the soundtrack on LP. The soundtrack is probably the only saving grace. Action Figure Expert says, you guys are just jealous of Don Johnson. I think that's true.
I can cop to that a little bit for sure.
80s Florida, there's so many pastels.
There's
so many pastels.
It is unfortunate.
I can't do it. I can't, you know?
And florals, like
florals. Shirts.
Yeah.
Like you said, dock shoes, no socks.
Right.
And the thing is, I know I'm insulting a lot of people out there like, heck yeah, I'm going to wear all that stuff, so I'm not trying to be harsh on you.
Mr. Scary says, what did you think of Don Johnson's song Heartbeat?
I need to listen to it.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's an 80s song.
Miami Vice is if Spuds MacKenzie was a TV show.
Oh, man, that's harsh.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's a little harsh.
It's a little accurate.
I think, no. I think the A-Team is closer to that.
I mean,
What?
Because it's so shticky. It's so like,
Look at the logo for Miami Vice.
If Miami Vice was a day
it's like
drinker,
it's the commando of this thing. It's so like over the top. It's like over the top.
wow. Want to arm wrestle?
Mic drop.
Michael, I got you back.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, so I guess we need to move on to the next TV show.
For safety.
Tunnel Rat says, oh no, is Melinda back to break live chat? Yeah, so I just want to real quickly say last time somebody was like really mad that I kept interrupting Michael to ask questions, and that's because you guys are asking questions in the chat, so I was just trying to make sure that you guys got your questions answered, but I'm not doing that anymore because I was told that the woman needs to sit down and be quiet while the man is talking.
Those were the literal words from the comment, which was like,
So I was out of town and I saw this stuff coming through on chat like, oh my gosh, things are getting
I'm
real
not trying to interrupt. It's kind of like multitasking, which I'm not great at. So
no, she's doing what we're supposed to do, which is answer your questions. So
well, don't worry, Melinda. Now I'm also here to interrupt Michael.
Oh, good.
So we can share that.
So now, woman, you need to be quiet. You get back in, girl. Okay. All right. So next TV show, please. Jody wants to know what's in the triangular box on the table while we're waiting for the next show to come up.
Oh, no problem. I don't know. I'm just kidding. So last week, while Michael and I were still working things out, thank you for giving that preamble about the falling out that we had and everything at the beginning of last week's show.
Oh, the joke, right.
Yes, but since you completely capitulated and apologized.
I did apologize for my joke.
And admitted that you were completely wrong.
Over my joke.
So we're good.
Right. That's great. So what are these?
So we were, he's very uncomfortable. Everything's fine.
Just get closer to him.
We went, my family and I went to Universal Studios last week for one day of the mini day trip that we took. And we went by the Harry Potter kind of Hogwarts section. And of course, you know that we eat things on camera every once in a while. So I thought, hey, I'm in like Wheezy's joke shop. Why don't I take a look at some of the candy and stuff that they have in there? And so I bought a box of exploding bonbons. It's a real boom. And thought we could try these.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Mark C has a super chat.
Yeah, why don't you read it? So that I don't interrupt anybody.
Wow.
Oh, I'm not letting that go.
What kind
And I know who you are, but I'm not calling your name out. But just know that I know.
What kind of stroke in the toy world do you have?
What kind of influence do you have?
need an Evel Knievel style stunt cycle, but with 80s Street Hawk.
Street Hawk stuff is hard to find.
Well, oh, Tim, would you like a bonbon? There you go.
What did you do, Michael?
What did you do, Ray? I don't have a lot of pull in the toy industry as such. You might want to find a customizer who might be able to modify a Street Hawk from an Evel Knievel. Although an Evel Knievel stunt cycle is pretty pricey, so that it might be custom from the ground up to make it affordable. That's all I'm saying. All right, so I'm going to try one of these.
Vinkman is mad that we talked about Miami Vice too long. He says that he ordered pizza in the time that we talked about Miami Vice.
I mean, to be fair, with the apps on your phone now, I mean, you can like just order a pizza like it's nothing.
That's true. So the next show we're talking about is the Muppet Show. How's your exploding bonbon?
It tingles.
It's the cocaine. It makes your mouth go numb. But
all right.
So
It's just like
okay. So Muppet Show. I think we should just,
just like put like
thumbs
you guys,
up or down.
Do you guys know who likes the show and who doesn't like the show? I don't know. I know.
which one of us is more like a Muppet?
All right. Nope.
What?
Oh, is it because of the puppets?
It's the Muppets. It's literally the Muppets. You know I hate Muppets.
Muppets aren't bad.
They freak me out.
Kermit freaks you out.
Yes.
Like in principle.
Yes.
Isolated,
No,
alone on a stage.
I don't like it.
Delivering a line from Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's finest work.
You're telling me
You
that
can't.
those two old guys in the balcony who literally are doing Mystery Science Theater to the live show and heckling the crowd are not funny?
I like the concept, but like if it weren't Muppets.
I heard a rumor that those two guys in the balcony were kind of a prototype. They were an influence on the Trading Spaces old guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can
totally.
see
They
that.
act the same.
Yeah.
But that's an example of what I love about the Muppets. I love not just the celebrities that they would have on the show, but as a kid, and I think people who were watching Monty Python's Flying Circus when they were kids had a similar experience. They couldn't watch the adult version of that kind of comedy, with the skits and everything like that, just in the moment kind of impromptu comedy. So they had to find something else to watch, and they would just sneak on and watch Monty Python. But when I was a kid, this show made me feel like I was getting away with watching some of that for some reason, because they would have adult act.
What is this show about?
It's not about anything. Yeah, it's a
variety show of Muppets.
It's like vaudeville. I mean, it's just everybody creates, like when they have guests on the show, they write all of the acts that come up in like the weeks before shooting, and then it's usually somewhat topical. I mean, a very famous example was the one that had the cast of Star Wars on it after the movie got famous, and they had everybody they could. Frank Oz obviously was shared between the two.
Right.
On the show, and it was...
So I think, aside from the fact that I hate Muppets,
Yes.
and they freak me out,
But minus that, you like the show.
the voices also, like, so Miss Piggy always drove me crazy because it's like a dude, right? It totally sounds like a dude.
Yeah, I mean...
Pretending to be a chick. I don't like that. I just don't. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me.
What about Yoda then?
I mean, I like Yoda. I don't know why. I think
Because he's around real people and he's supposed to be like a
he
real
doesn't
creature?
look like, I can't see the hands like inside of the, he looks like a sock puppet. Kermit
So you
does.
can't unsee that that's somebody's
I just
hand.
like see a dude like creepily under the table going, ew,
I-
ew, ew, ew.
I
And
don't
it's like,
know how creepily they were
ew.
under
I mean,
the table.
it's like they're, I don't know.
There's a lot going on. There's just a whole lot going on.
Somebody said that I must hate the Land of Confusion video by Phil Collins. And actually, I do, but it works in that case because it's supposed to be creepy. But I have had nightmares about it with the Ronald Reagan looking thing.
Yeah.
The puppet that runs around. I've literally had nightmares, like recurring nightmares of that puppet chasing me. I really don't like puppets.
I mean, that
I'm
would
sorry.
scare almost anyone. I think that's a fair statement.
I really loved The Muppet Show. I
Yeah.
didn't get to see it enough because, it came on later and it was when I was still rather young. But it was because bedtime, you know, then it's like, oh.
Yeah, this one barely made it into the 80s primetime TV slot because I think it was only active to like the first few years of the 80s. Yeah. It was more active in the late 70s.
Late 70s, yeah.
Oh, this guy says Frank Oz was Miss Piggy. I don't know. I think because
it wasn't until I did the imitation of her voice that I was like, oh, duh. I should have known that.
I don't know. I didn't like her, and I don't know.
She was intended, I think, to
be unlikable,
to grate on your nerves. And I'm sure a lot of people adored her for the personality that she portrayed as well. But
annoying. People like annoying.
I was annoyed by her as a kid.
We'll just have to sit down one day with our movie nights and finally watch The Great Muppet Caper.
Oh my God!
Or the Muppet movie.
Why are you doing this to me?
Or you know.
What did you make him watch?
The Muppet Show.
I made him watch The Dark Knight Rises last night. And so, but that was only because he bought the box set and I wanted us to get our money's worth. Like, neither one of us enjoyed it and we were both slogging through it, so.
I enjoyed that movie. A little flashback to last week.
So we're just both going to go like this, and Aaron's like, yay. Yeah, Thunder Robots, thanks for the super chat. He says, The Muppet Show predicted Disney owning Star Wars.
They might be right.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we're moving on to the next one, since we don't want to overtalk these too much.
Okay, so what is the next one?
I don't know. We're waiting for the photo to come up.
Tim?
Oh, here we go. Ah.
Tim gave us a hint.
Okay.
For 7 seconds of the show.
All right, so we're going to do our classification. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, again?
Wow.
What?
I'm detecting a trend here.
Oh, you realize that Airwolf is not a puppet, right? Airwolf was a real helicopter. Like, it wasn't...
I don't know.
I want Puppet Airwolf.
Yeah.
With like a creepy dude under the stage.
I don't like it.
There's no hand up Airwolf's,
How do you know?
Fuselage.
I always did think the main character in that looked a little shady.
Stringfellow Hawk?
Yeah.
He was super shady looking, but that's not why I didn't like it.
He looked like he'd be like, hey kids, you want to buy some?
It's what's weird about this show is that it seems like it would have every element of a show I would like, but it's just really boring.
What?
It's really boring.
It's got Ernest Borgnine. Let me repeat that. It's got Ernest Borgnine.
He's just chewing up the minutes, man.
He is.
I don't know how you got bored.
It's got this cool plot where you've got this guy who's like, he used to be a military dude, and he's like, I only work for the government now when, I feel like it. And by the way, I stole your high-tech helicopter, and I'm not going to tell you where it is because you guys will use it for evil purposes. And when I decide that you guys need the help of this chopper, I will go to my secret canyon lair and take it and go help people.
Listen, the concept of the show works, but the implementation of it is just really slow and boring. Like, not slow in a
very
cool
Cold War.
motion
it's
picture,
got that kind of versus
Star Trek
the Russians
kind of a way. It's more of a...
I remember it being very Pacific Northwest feeling.
Yeah.
So,
see, I just remember it being in the desert and like a helicopter just flying forever and nothing ever happening.
Firefox the movie, but it's a helicopter.
There's a lot of action scenes and a lot of and those are boring to me.
Action scenes, like you get bored during the action.
Yeah.
He punched a guy.
It's boring.
I think Airwolf is.
I like drama where people are talking.
You don't think it's dramatic to punch a person?
I don't know. Let's find out.
I think that's pretty dramatic. Well,
come over here,
ladies and gentlemen.
No, I did not. I didn't like Blue Thunder. I don't like any of these helicopter shows and movies. They're just, which is horrible because like my dad, who literally just tried to call me while we were on the live stream, was a helicopter pilot. So I feel really
you should text him to turn
bad.
The live stream on.
I feel really bad, like that I don't like it. But
you don't know if he liked that show either.
He probably didn't, because he would probably be like, "That's BS."
It's like doctors can't watch ER, right? Watching.
Although I watch ER and I'm a nurse, and I think it's pretty accurate in a lot of ways.
Okay. I like both Airwolf and Blue Thunder from what I've seen. From
Love
what
that
I can
Dana
recall.
Carvey. You just can't get enough.
That's the TV show. We're talking
about TV shows.
I know, but Blue Thunder, you're more talking about the Roy Scheider movie.
Roy Scheider of the movie.
Yes.
I don't know. You can.
That man is a movie icon.
I feel like we
He's
watched
like human jerky.
an episode of this show, and maybe it was because it was the pilot, because I really haven't watched a lot of this show. We tried to get through the pilot, which is like one of those double-length episodes for a panel for Dragon Con. And I remember getting so bored during that episode that I like started looking at my phone, which I never do. Like, I didn't make it through. I couldn't.
A lot of people agree with you, saying it's boring.
It's boring.
Well, and one of the factors for me was where I grew up. It was one of the earliest places that got the same type of helicopter as its medevac helicopter. And due to proximity for my parents' jobs, I was around some of the airfields where the helicopter would land and take off and everything. So I used to stand at the edge of the landing field and watch them pull the Airwolf helicopter out. It wasn't the one from the TV show, but it was the same style with the jet turbines. And, you know, service it, get in it, take off, fly off. So it was a weird, as a kid, it was a weird sort of like, I've really seen one of those things. It's a real thing kind of situation.
Yeah.
You looked at me and laughed. So
I looked at you and laughed because I was looking at some of the comments. So Don Draper says Air Bud is greater than Airwolf. Nice.
Murdered by words.
Raymond Hoy says, oh, good Lord, the DEA is going to bust this live stream any moment. Matthew Poe says, do you guys remember the TV shows Voyager 1982 to 83, where Phineas Fogg and Jeffrey Jones travel through time using a pocket watch-sized time machine called the Omni?
No.
No, Tim says he remembers
The
it.
cameraman says he.
And then Jody asks, Aaron, did you also find some earwax tasting jelly beans when you were at Universal?
One of my daughters did buy a box of Birdie Bots, and I reminded her that there would be vomit flavor, earwax flavor, and she just went, well, okay. And so I bought her a box of the every flavored jelly beans.
Thunder Robot says, RetroBlasting, I watched Airwolf as a kid, but when I watched it as an adult, I was like, what is this crap? I think that's my problem, is I don't really remember the show from when I was a kid. I remember that it existed, but I don't think I ever watched it. My dad probably was like, that's BS, and we're not watching it in this house. And then when we tried to watch it, I just thought it was really boring. So, I don't know.
I'm always going to love Airwolf. It was just one of those shows that as a kid fascinated me. And even though watching it now, I can see some of the stitches and seam lines in it.
And the repeated stock video footage.
I like what their ambition behind the show was, you know? So.
Renegade Biker asks if I liked the Wonder Woman show. Yes, I did. The one from the 70s, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
With
Linda Carter's Wonder Woman's great.
She is, in my mind, she's really the only real Wonder Woman. So,
yep.
Hot takes.
All right, so are we ready for our next TV show?
We are.
We are. Moving on.
Moving right along. Hey, I have a pop quiz for you guys. Let's see if anybody can guess what this song is from. Constance Fry, anytime you'd call.
You're messed up imagination.
Constance would fulfill your needs, winter, spring, or fall.
I know where that's from.
You do?
I do.
Does anyone? Okay, yell it out if you get it. Okay, so
Yep.
Trading Places. Thanks. Okay, cool. Peter Venkman got it. Is that ironic? I don't know. Okay, because Dan Aykroyd. Never mind.
No, Dan Aykroyd played Ray Stantz.
I know. That's why.
Okay, so 6 degrees of separation.
Okay.
Got it.
It's called Trading Places.
Right.
That was the
Thank
joke.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Just helping
Aaron.
hear that.
All right, so Star Trek: Next Generation.
I'm sorry.
Specifically, I think we have to talk about season 1 and 2 because this show came out in what, 88?
87.
87. Okay.
88, it started filming in 87, came out in 88.
It came out in 88. So the first
Thanks, Tim,
2
for keeping
years,
us out of trouble.
the first 2 years of this show, meaning the first 2 seasons, were in the 80s. So I don't really I don't want to because it changes a lot from the first season to like
It
season
catches
4.
the 90s a little bit.
Yeah, it does. So if we're just talking about, let's talk about season 1 when Wesley wore the rainbow shirt and everyone was wearing those body condoms.
Those got more and more unfortunate as our TVs got better and better.
Well, they didn't put Wesley in that to begin with. He was in that rainbow
He stopped
sweater.
right
That's
there.
what I said.
No, then he went into the gray body condom later that was all
I know, but
said
they
it
were
started
all
with the
wearing
rainbow.
body condoms.
Well, yeah, they were.
That's what
they
I meant.
were. Yeah.
No, them. Like he had the rainbow, although in this picture that
got
we
that
have, he's got
sweater.
that orange weird grandma sweater on.
Yeah.
His Weasley sweater.
Apparently,
Wesley made me so mad.
Wesley Crusher, which I was just doing some basic reading on this, and I'm sure all of you Trekkies out there know this already, but Wesley was sort of supposed to represent Gene Roddenberry in the show.
Interesting.
Gene Roddenberry's middle name is Wesley, and Wesley was supposed to sort of be him, but everyone hated him because he was like he knew everything, and he was like the I don't want to use this word, but I'm just going to for funniness. He was the Mary Sue of the show, where he like could always just instantly be a genius and figure it out as sort of a stopgap.
Create an entire race of nano creatures,
right?
And then just let it go.
Yeah, okay. So there's some questions in the chat. I'm just going to verify my take on this.
Okay.
I like Next Generation, but I don't like it more than the original series. I like the original series the best because that's what I grew up on. I remember Trek before there was more than Kirk. And so that's kind of where I live, is the original series and those 6 films. But I do own the Next Generation on Blu-ray, and I do appreciate it, and I like it. I give it a thumbs up as a show. But as far as like...
Shut up, Wesley.
As far as like, you know, comparing it to everything else, I'm going to go with the original series and the first 6 films.
I'm going to say this. You tell me how it makes you feel. I feel like the original Star Trek is amazing and to be loved, but it's that weird grandparent that you're happy when they come over, they bring a gift. You see some part of the world you didn't get to see because you weren't born yet.
Right.
But Next Gen is kind of where it all really started clicking as like this might be an alternate version of reality that is real and out there somewhere.
Right. No, that's apt.
But the granddad's got corduroy pants on and a bright yellow shirt, and he's still unironically smoking cigarettes and dipping the ashes in a glass of water while he's talking to you about gambling.
Sure. So is Star Trek: The Next Generation then? That okay, so if that's the grandparent, is Star Trek: The Next Generation that uncle that you remember in the 80s being hip and trendy, but now he's never grown out of it, and now
he's
he
like
looks
Larry
dated?
From Three's Company?
Yeah, and now he looks dated?
This is, I don't know if we want to do this here, but we won't let Star Trek change. We won't let
apparently we don't have a choice.
We won't let it.
Have you seen Picard?
Yes. We get angry when it changes.
Right.
So, yes, he's still that uncle because we won't let him not be that uncle.
Well, that's fair. Mark C. has a good super chat here. He says, if you haven't bought Star Trek TNG on Blu-ray, you are missing out. The remastering of the show is incredible. I have it on Blu-ray. There are a few technical glitches in certain episodes that have become infamous. Like season 2, there's like a shot where they didn't properly recomposite the Enterprise, and as it flies off screen right, it just disappears into space because they didn't line everything up right.
That's like something I would do when
That's
I get
almost
so
worth
excited
it.
I figure out how to do it that I never finish the effect.
Right.
So it's just like... Pew.
And it was correct in the 80s, but because they had to recomposite all the effects, they weren't paying attention.
Didn't quite gel.
Yeah.
I love watching, especially season 1, and seeing just how like slipshod all the stuff they had was. Like they pull out a tricorder and you can see it's literally like a sticker they've pasted on top of of like a vacuum formed plastic.
Or it's like a block of wood with paintbrush strokes for gray. Still, Like
I think in one scene I could see like crib sheets from the actors actually wadded up and like tossed behind the chairs they were sitting in, and it's all stuff you couldn't see on a 320 by 240 interlaced screen back in the 80s and 90s.
AV nerds.
Thank you. Thank you for straightening my pocket protector out.
I really love Next Generation. I think it's a great show.
I do too, but when we went, you had some version of it. I don't know if it's Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. We watched it a few years back, and when we started it, the first episode, and it was like, yikes, this isn't how I remember this show, and it does take a while. And so that's kind of why, to me, I don't want to give it a thumbs down completely, but I mean, especially when you compare it to original series even, and then later Next Gen, it's just like, it really took a while for this show to find its footing. It has good moments. It kind of reminds me of Buffy that way. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the first season is kind of rough, but then after the second season, it kind of finds its groove a little bit. So.
Well, I was just listening to an interview this morning with the writer of the episode Measure of a Man, where they put Data on trial to find out if he's a human or not, how they define
Is that the most famous episode?
Probably.
It's the one I see cited, it's even cited in like legal courses and things because of how it was constructed.
The writer, she said that the hardest part about working on Star Trek, and she worked on it for a few seasons, starting with that episode, was, she said, the reason she wrote that spec script for Data was because she felt like Data at that time was really the only character on the show with anywhere to go. She said the other characters didn't have enough about them that made them characters, and she said that was the irony, was that a lot of times the android felt more human than the humans on the show, which I don't know if that's how you feel.
As a literary device, I would see that almost being intentional.
Right.
Because he would almost be a mirror or a void that you would look into as a viewer and see things about yourself that maybe you wouldn't want to see.
Yeah.
Or that were weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Midnight's Edge says that, hey, I'm an AV nerd. I want to get a t-shirt that says I heart AV nerds.
That's the video I was watching, Midnight's Edge's interview with Melinda Snodgrass. That's the interview I was watching this morning. So if you guys go over, check it out. It's really cool. It's an hour-long interview with the writer of Measure of Man. Wait until after the live stream's over. But go check it out.
We watch our viewers just because
Yeah.
Everyone leaves.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mark
it's
C.
cool. We'll wait.
Mark C. has a super chat. We don't mind Star Trek changing, but TNG went from a cool uncle to a bitter drunk speaking nonsense.
Tim's going to fight you, but because Tim likes Picard, but
there's room in this table for
that's
all
my
of
point.
these feelings.
That's
for
what
sure.
I'm saying. I mean, I haven't watched Picard. I just watch every single episode of Red Letter Media talking about it because it's way more fun for me to watch them losing their minds over it. And whether I agree with them or not, they just do such a good job of being really animated about it. So anyway.
Well, and the fun thing about them, you know, I've watched that after Picard came out. We had several discussions about it, and then you mentioned that you watched the Red Letter Media, so I went and watched the same thing. And I can tell you, even as someone who doesn't necessarily have the same opinion they do by the end of the episode, they are two guys who know what they're talking about. Like the references they make and everything else are all very valid and knowledgeable. So if you're looking for an alternate view of the bitter drunk uncle hypothesis on this, I mean, they've got a good one for that.
Yeah.
All right, so next series, I guess. I didn't really, I guess I kind of said what I thought, right?
There's a 20% chance Tim will not change the slide because he loves Star Trek so much.
Now that you've read that out loud, we're going to be sitting in this Star Trek.
I don't really remember. Well, somebody says, I don't know how to say your name. Diffusking says Red Letter Media changed my life. Yeah, they're my favorite YouTube channel. All right, Married with Children. Thank you.
RetroBlasting second.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kidding. It just would seem like stuck up if I put my, our channel first. Okay, so Married with Children. Are we ready to thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. No, you can't do that. You have to pick one.
All right, then I'm going to go up. I'll go positive on it.
All right. Just make me the asshole again. That's fine.
Oh,
thank you, Tim.
All right, so...
Giant thumb.
All right. I completely admit, I'll cop to the fact that this show started a very bad trend in American television of making every character on TV irreprehensible and contemptible.
That's why I don't like it.
And all that kind of stuff. And it was one of a few shows that did that. It wasn't alone. Most of the shows were on the Fox networks that did that. But it started us down that path. But that being said, I know you don't like Al Bundy.
We're having some work.
Oh, okay. I thought someone was just knocking like Pee Wee Herman's door knocker. It's just dunk, dunk, dunk,
How do we know
dunk,
that guy's not knocking to try and get in?
Because it's too regular.
Oh, okay.
There's too little entropy.
Right. So one of the things about that show that I did like, I know you don't like Al Bundy, but I thought Al Bundy was hilarious. I thought Ed O'Neill was really, really funny.
He's a modern-day Archie Bunker.
And I thought he was great. He held the show together for me. I was not as interested in some of the other characters, but for the fact that he was interacting with them.
Yeah, so many TV shows in the 80s were trying to show you Facebook life.
Right.
Like everybody kind of had a good family, and things would go wrong, but there was still a little too much of Vaseline smudged on the lens. Everybody had a little glow to it. And this was one of the first shows that I was like, oh yeah, I know these people too, and I'm a little bit like these people sometimes.
Right.
And it kind of had a little more of that. And the reason why I was kind of doing this is because sometimes it would go way far into the reprehensible, like,
right,
really kind of side of things.
And it was a little bit more, at times, slapstick than, say, Roseanne.
Yeah.
Roseanne
Well, that's what I was looking up, and technically, I guess this show came out before Roseanne's show. But when you're talking about a realistic show, and I mean, we're not talking about the modern reboot of Roseanne. We're talking about the original Roseanne was like my favorite show, like
and that
one
would
of
bring
my
more
favorite
drama
shows.
to it, right?
It has more drama, but it also just it's not like
the dialogue
slapstick,
was more
like joke. It was more
Right.
like to me felt more realistic of how people talk to each other, or at least
it's
in my
Married
house.
with Children, like if you took Roseanne and then threw Family Guy into it and shook it all up, and then you got another show out of it.
Yeah, it just felt more like a traditional sitcom where there's like
a laugh track.
it felt very like, and now we tell a joke here, and I really like her boobs.
And now he
I
does-
wish you'd get off that couch, Al. Like, it's just like these stereotypes, and they never change. Like, none of the characters ever grow
No,
or
that's
change.
true. The characters didn't change.
They're just like little,
They were
the
very
wife
static.
is oversexed, and the husband is like a fat slob that drinks beer and sits on the couch, and he hates his wife, and why is he married to her? And then the daughter is just a dumb bimbo, and the son is like a horny, unsuccessful AV nerd, but not the cool kind. So like, it's just like,
So it's like
there's nothing for me to
TerraVision
like.
without the aliens.
It is like TerraVision.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, that's just my take on it, but
It's a fair take.
thanks.
All right.
Next.
Tim's
I'm done
back.
with this guy.
Did you have anything else to
Did you?
add?
No, I said what I want to say. I think I love that show for Ed O'Neill. I just love Ed O'Neill's performance.
I
in that
also
show.
really dislike the song.
The one that I was humming
Yes.
earlier. It's a little over the top, little on the nose.
Well, yeah.
Oh, this show.
So it's got a couple things in it that I think you might have a problem with. Michael's
What?
getting something.
What things could you possibly be referring to, Aaron?
Well, the fact that it's a puppet, and that this puppet eats cats. So
You pretty much nailed
How
it.
far past that did you get to give it a chance?
0. I did not get past that at all.
I don't know if we'll probably wait, I guess, to get too far into it. till
Why?
Michael returns, because we've got to do the thumbs up or thumbs down moment.
All right.
We
Well, you
can't do
guys already
this.
know, like, apparently every single thing on this list for me is a thumbs down. So.
Have you voted thumbs up yet?
Miami Vice.
Miami Vice, yeah. Okay.
I think everything else I've been thumbs down.
You were a little middling on TNG for sure. But yeah, I ended up watching this show quite a bit. as a
Did
kid.
you?
Yeah. I mean, when it was on, I would stick on the channel.
What did you like about this show?
It was just lighthearted.
God.
It was just lighthearted.
Oh! God, its phallic nose is foul.
Hey, buddy. What you up to?
We've had this since we were kids.
I think that's reprehensible.
No, this is awesome. Alf was great. Look at that. He's got his little hair there.
Oh my God. He's got old man ears, even complete with hair coming out of him.
You want to hold him?
No,
Are you sure?
I am very sure.
He'll let you.
Ew. Why are you stroking it that way?
Stroke me, stroke me, stroke.
I hate you right now.
I like sitting them together. This is good.
I thought Alf was a great show. It was innovative. I like the fact that it was a. I know that the guy who was playing Alf was going through some
Stuff.
personality problems and anything.
Actors, though, right?
But I mean, it was a classic show that combined, like the Muppet thing with, the
Married with Children
sci-fi.
a little
It was for kids. You bring that sci-fi element in with that Muppet thing, and suddenly it's, it's not just Cheers to a little kid. It's something going on.
Thanks for the super chat, Scott. He says, taken as a whole, do you think the 80s TV was the same kind of cultural high point that the 80s movies were?
80s TV as a cultural high point. I mean, they're very memorable.
I
The TV shows
don't
are-
know about that, because there's a lot of... It's like I like a lot of TV shows from the 80s, but I think that's because of nostalgia. I don't know if it's because they're
it's hard
actually good.
It's hard to figure out if it's nostalgia or not, like to polarize enough to actually figure out.
Yeah,
if you can filter the nostalgia glow out, is it still shiny?
I think it's because there's a lot of shows in the 80s that had such memorable plot devices and gimmicks. Airwolf, Knight Riders, A-Team, Street Hawk, all of those. They Magnum PI, they
It was kind of like there was enough of a renaissance in effects and freedom of writing that we sort of saw this big explosion of like, a vehicle in a show, and then every vehicle gets a show, and then stuff
or like MacGyver, Fall Guy, even Golden Girls. You think about those shows because they created a scenario that was very unique and then played on Cheers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's going on?
Matt Movies says, so Alf can turn Michael back to 5 years old.
Apparently.
Yeah. I enjoyed they did an episode of Mr. Robot where they married it with the Alf TV show in a very weird way. Oh, Lord. Hey.
You want to hold my Alf?
Yeah. Heck yeah, I do.
Gross. So somebody says Mike will be sleeping in the DeLorean tonight.
I mean, really?
You didn't hear what I said.
No, I didn't.
And
All I want to do is eat this
Now you're
candy.
going to make it come true.
Huh?
Nope. Not going to repeat it.
Oh, come on, tell me.
Nope.
If Kylie... I saw it said that Kylie was what? What did it say? Oh, it says Michael will be sleeping in the DeLorean tonight? Boo. Well, somebody said if Kylie was something. What was that? What was that?
I don't know.
Oh. Well,
Matt Lu...
While she's in the middle of
I'm
reading
trying
it,
to read. I can't see through your arm.
If Kylie was assimilated by the Borg, would you still listen to her Borg music? That's actually a funny
I would
question.
listen to Borg music anyway. That sounds
You
awesome.
are Borg music.
You gotta remember. You gotta remember. So if Kylie was
Resistance
assimilated
is
into the
futile.
Borg, I don't think her music would change very much. It would just go from "I should be so lucky" to "We should be
Michael,
so lucky."
If she was a Borg, she would be irresistible.
This guy says, I want to hang out with Aaron's grandpa. Next.
Oh! Hang on. Oh!
Alf is down. Yes, I have seen Kylie
Next
in Neighbors.
show.
She played Charlene. Yes, I have.
All right.
So, the Wonder Years.
One,
All right.
2, 3. Are we all in agreement on this one?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I expected somebody at this table to like
I
this
thought
show.
somebody would like it.
Now, I submitted it as the one I didn't like, so I...
Right. Well,
was
that's
gonna
fair.
happen.
That's fair on you. So I don't.
Jason Anderson nailed it. He said, The Wonder Years was a show your parents watched. Yeah, because it's about boomers and like, I can't use that word anymore.
Lio Convoy super chat. Melinda treats Alf like the show's ending did.
Oh.
Which was pretty hilarious from what I've
Shots
heard.
fired.
Yeah, no, I watched this show because my parents were watching it, so I definitely saw a lot of episodes of it, and I don't remember like hating it at the time, but it didn't, it was like everything was so great in the 60s, everything was awesome, and I'm just sitting there going, I mean, okay.
I mean,
like,
I might get some hate for this, but I feel like it had the same problem that Goldberg's has.
Yes.
Like, there's just too much afterglow applied.
Yeah.
It's
to
just
it.
a little, it's like it's looking through this really hazy rose-colored, like, oh, everything was so great, and no. I mean, there were things I'm sure that were great about growing up in the 60s or the 80s, but there were also plenty of things that sucked. Like,
my parents didn't tolerate that show for very long. Even when when it first came out, we'd watch it, and it, and then it didn't take very long, I think, for them to be like, yeah, that's not what my childhood was like,
right.
And just moved on from there. And
Well,
then
it wouldn't have been what my parents' childhoods were like either, but I think they just enjoy the music and the window dressing of it, like, which is the idea of the show, right? Is that they put enough, of those, God, that's another song, another theme song that just, I would
can't
hear it and
anymore.
I just,
Here's the thing. I know there's some people on the chat right now who are like, I can't believe you don't like Wonder Years. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, no one's saying that the Wonder Years was badly made.
no, it was
No
very
one's
well
saying
made.
that the Wonder Years was poorly acted.
The actors were great.
we're
Yep.
not even saying that the Wonder Years necessarily was poorly written. What I'm saying is, as a child, it did not resonate with me.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And yet, my parents, that was one of the few shows that they were allowing me to watch in prime time. And I'm going, well, I don't want to watch this.
It felt like they were trying to ram their childhoods and their experience down my throat as an 80s kid. Like, I'm an 80s kid. You guys were, like, technically my parents were 50s kids.
Right.
So it's like there's a generation gap here. And, I mean, that's all fine. But, like, I like my stuff.
Right.
And my stuff was just trash and garbage, like,
Right.
to my dad. So...
Is it safe to say that the show felt more like it was talking about what it was like raising kids in that time period more than what it was like being a kid in that time period? I know there were a lot of stories told from the kid's perspective, but sometimes
I only remember it being like the little boy, like
Fred Savage.
Yeah, I can't remember his name in the show though. Like, you know, trying to like, you know, he had a crush on Winnie, and he had the, you know, the crappy brother, which is like literally
his brother. Fine, his brother cracked me up.
The Jocko jerk guy.
He was funny.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is literally what the Goldbergs like carbon copied.
Right.
And, you know, even the characters, like he has.
Although the difference is that the Wonder Years did respect what year they were in.
Kevin Arnold, thank you, Jeff.
The Wonder Years did adhere to what year they were in the 60s
Correct.
and the 70s.
They did a good, I think they did a better job.
In that respect, the Wonder Years run circles around the Goldbergs.
Oh, yeah, I think it's just a better show overall.
It's totally a better show.
It's a better show.
But if Airwolf was on the other channel...
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, if...
Or in my case, it was like, well, I'll watch the Wonder Years.
Or even Nova.
Because Wonder Years was later 80s.
Yeah, I liked that show.
Wonder Years was later in the 80s.
Yeah.
So that
was it?
Yeah, and I bet you that's why my family stopped watching MacGyver, was because that show came on, and suddenly they were watching that all the time.
It was kind of an event, I think.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know?
MacGyver was...
Somebody else isn't coming back from Vietnam in the neighborhood, you know? And then Fred Savage throws an apple across the cafeteria and gets in trouble with his teacher. Oh my God. What? That's what happens on this show.
Savage.
I remember something about bikes in that show.
Oh, it was, yeah.
What British shows did
Wait. Timothy Ward says, I loved the Wonder Years. I almost failed a college course because I skipped to watch those episodes.
Another example of why it's bad. I mean, it almost cost this man his college degree.
What British shows did Michael watch when I was in England? I watched things like...
Have You Been Served?
I did watch Are You Being Served? We watched DJ Cat because I was still that age. The Young Ones was one that came on in syndication. There's a few that I watch now. Like when we lived there, my mom would watch things like Keeping Up Appearances and all that kind of stuff. But like now, for example, I watch a lot of British TV. I watch, of course, Doctor Who, but I also watch Colditz. I watch Dad's Army. I have all of Monty Python's Flying Circus on Blu-ray. We watched, what did we watch recently on BritBox? I suffered through 7 seasons of Last of the Summer Wine. I don't know how I did it, but Melinda never could click in with that show. It's basically about 3 old men who are retired.
It's about nothing.
And they fritter their
days away.
It's
It's literally
in this
about
village
nothing,
that they
not
live
like
in, doing random
Seinfeld.
stuff.
I just hear It Was a Very Good Year by Frank Sinatra playing in my head.
Okay, we're moving on to the next show now because it's been up above Aaron's head for like 5 minutes now. Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. Are we ready to...
I'm ready.
Okay, and...
1, 2, 3, go.
That was a hard call to come
How
to.
about, like, I'm the only one that disagrees with both of you on everything?
It's amazing.
Quantum Leap, nah.
Now, I'll be honest. I watched the pilot of Quantum Leap over and over again, just as much, well, not just as much, but close to, like, Star Wars movie that I had on VHS. I had a Quantum Leap pilot on this VHS, and I watched it religiously.
Right.
It was a good pilot, I think.
Mark C. says, Quantum Leap was awesome. Really loved the episode where he inadvertently helped Stephen King. So that's a great example of the type of thing that happens in this show, which is completely ridiculous. I think it works in the 80s, but what I will say is New Who is really bad about doing this. it pulls these quantum leap things where they insert themselves into famous people times, and then they have some dorky actor playing like Vincent Van Gogh. And yes, I'm calling out that episode because I freaking hate that episode of Who.
Which is what the original version of Who did in the 60s. Yeah. But clearly...
It's just cringy. It's just like, oh my God, and stop putting Amy Pond into a Vincent Van Gogh painting. Like, you are not cool enough to have inspired... no, Amy, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
But that's Doctor Who. We're talking about Quantum Leap.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that, it makes me get why you don't like it. I liked the episodes where there wasn't a specific famous person, where it was just like, he would have to leap into a different person's body. And the reason I liked it is just almost the concept more than the implementation of it. In the sense that he's having to adapt to, like, I didn't know this as a kid, but social psychology tells us that, like, we are not necessarily just putting stuff out there without it. You're defined by how other people treat you. Mm-hmm. So if other people start treating him differently because he looks different, like if he's an old black woman or if he's, whatever he is, then it kind of changes who he is and what he has to go through in order to just do basic things. And it makes you stop and think about the challenges that other people have to face. And so conceptually, I love that idea. And I love that you have a different show every single week built into the plot line. But
I don't like television shows where I know that the plot isn't going to, like, where the structure of the plot is like Gilligan's Island. You know they're not going to get off the island at the end of the episode because you know that means the show is over. Right. So, same with Quantum Leap. As a child, I did not like the idea of he's just going to jump into somebody else's body. He's not going to get home. He's not going to get back to his cool sci-fi future. It's going to be another scenario where he has to do something and then he jumps into another scenario.
The only difference being that on Gilligan's Island, literally nothing happens. Like, they try to build a boat and they fail, or whatever. They try to build a radio, but they fail. In this case, stuff actually happens in the meantime of him. Like, he's in this body, and he kind of has to solve this problem. And so that's what the show is about. The frame story is really not what the show is about, him trying to get back to...
To answer someone's question, they say, so you hate MASH? I'm like, no, I don't hate MASH. I actually really like MASH. But again, MASH, like the TV show Combat, is about a war. And so there's an indeterminate amount of time. I know that the joke was that MASH lasted longer than the Korean War. but you don't know, you're not getting literal 365 episodes of MASH a year.
Well, and like in Quantum Leap, they're not so completely isolated that people don't show up. Like, there's not things that don't hit them from outside,
right,
or things from the inside that happen that they have to deal with. So
right.
they weren't like lost.
Yeah, right.
Well, you have to. The way I watched MASH was, it's more like, okay, so you're watching it's a 30-minute show, right? Or was it an hour?
Quantum Leap was an hour.
No, MASH.
Oh, MASH.
I think it's a 30-minute show. Yeah. So, like, just because a week goes by in between those 30 minutes doesn't mean that a week has gone by in the story. Like, it could be the next day.
Right.
And that would change, too. Like,
that varies. So,
Quantum Leap, like, I really loved the first one, and that was a case of famous person. But the Jaeger and everything else, all the discussion about that was fascinating to me because it was aerospace. It was the sound barrier. Your statement about the fact that it was him having to solve normal problems or weird problems in normal people's lives, those were some of the best episodes. But I just got tired of the formula of, like, literally it got to the point where when he jumped and he would look in the mirror and say, oh boy, I would have the same reaction of, like, I am just too tired for another one.
Right.
Like, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was what they were going for, but it was very effective with me. I stopped watching the show at that point because I just couldn't do it anymore. Just couldn't, man. It was too much.
It wasn't my kind of format. I just wasn't. Yeah, I call me a gauche little kid, but I just didn't.
For some reason, this show came on
calls
like
people a gauche little kid
after me.
Oh, okay. All right. Then.
After school or something, like, this show was on. I just remember watching, like, a lot of this show for some reason. So.
On every damn station for 3 years.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It wasn't my favorite TV show, but I certainly don't like you really don't like the show. And if it were on right now and I was just sort of, like, lazily sitting on the couch, all right, I'll watch this. Like, I wouldn't change the channel. Like,
It's just not my thing. And that guy would show up as a hologram. And it's like, oh.
I like that guy.
I do too.
It's like, what are you, a retail
See,
inventory
you like this
manager?
show. Don't lie.
I'm not lying. It was great in Dune. Like, I would not... You're going to make it a dreamland now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I'm not done paying for not liking this.
So, next show.
Where are we on the map?
2 more.
We got two more. Everyone loves Dean Stockwell. Oh, Doogie Howser. Yeah. Okay, so I have a feeling I know which way this is going to go.
This is one I didn't watch a lot of.
But you've heard of it.
I have heard of it, and I have watched episodes of it, and I'm probably going to give it my vote just because I was young enough to be super impressed with the idea that a kid could do all that stuff. But I'm not going to have a lot of, like, point at this thing and say it was bad kind of feelings.
All right, so...
1, 2, 3.
Wow. Okay.
That's the first.
Yep,
first.
I'm on my own, but I'm ready to fight.
How can you not like NPH?
First of all, NPH wasn't NPH back then. He was not what he is now.
No, he was ahead of the curve, man.
Second of all...
He's been cool since he was that young.
This gets back to what I talked about on the last live stream when we got to E.T. As a child, I did not buy into stories about children on Earth doing fantastical things.
And being a doctor is a fantastical thing.
When you are 12,
He wasn't 12.
You know what I mean. He was not presented...
You also hate medical shows, be honest.
He was not presented as old as even Marty McFly.
This is just full of everything you hate.
He was an adolescent, all right?
He was.
He was not a teenager up until later in the show.
He?
From what I recall.
Okay.
And I am not, as a child, I'm not going to sit there and be like, wow, he's a doctor. I can go be a doctor. No, I literally can't.
I never suffered from that illusion, but I enjoyed seeing him accomplish that. And
Me too.
It wasn't like he was Superman and shooting lasers out of his eyes. He was literally diagnosing things. Like,
But Superman,
something.
shooting lasers out of his eyes, for me, he was not only not human, but he was also adult. And so I was like, I could kind of...
Adults can do that.
Adults can do amazing things from when I was a kid.
Now,
I wasn't alive.
Michael was really bummed when he became an adult and realized that none of that cool stuff really happened.
Look, I learned at 7 years old I was never going to be an intergalactic smuggler or an adventuring archaeologist. That was never going to happen.
Aww.
But I still knew that adults were allowed to do things I couldn't do, like drive, fly,
don't give up.
All kinds of stuff.
You never know. You could still be an intergalactic.
Stop feeding us that Gen X lie.
Just want you to know.
Our parents telling us all that crap all those years. You can be anything if you just try hard enough, which is total BS. Like.
So the other thing about Doogie Howser that I really, really loved was the fact that he sat down at a computer every night and wrote down a little journal entry of all of his thoughts.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really great. Like, I wanted to emulate that as a kid. I didn't have a computer like his, but he was fabulously wealthy in the show.
True.
Peter Venkman asked where Doogie did his residency. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe
so
in elementary school.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
He must have.
Okay, hold on. Fred, I don't even understand how you get there. So Michael wants the world from Idiocracy. No. Idiocracy is adults being stupid. I'm saying that as a child, I did not understand children being amazing and whatever. Adults, I could see being amazing and whatever. Children, I could not see that because I was literally, there was no alien landing in my backyard, okay?
So my Superman argument was kind of a false equivalency, right?
Right. It's because, right. So my point is like, I just don't buy into, unless that child is born into a world, like Harry Potter, children are born into the wizarding world.
Right.
They are magical inherently. Fine. Children in, Lord of the Rings are in another world. Children in Star Wars are in another world, right? Mm-hmm. That's different. Children on Earth, I'm not going to be able to find an old carnival ride and build it into a spaceship and go flying into outer space like an explorer.
But maybe if you're a teenager.
What?
But you could.
A teenager, though, was different because to me, a teenager was a grown-up.
Okay.
A teenager had a driver's license. Mm-hmm. A teenager could go do things that I couldn't do.
So what about the explorers?
No, because they weren't teenagers. They were adolescents.
Right, but would you believe that they could calculate a thing and make a little...
No, I hated that movie.
That actually felt in the realm of possibility to me as a kid, that somebody could somehow work out a math equation and I didn't fully understand
about
how
Space Camp?
circuitry worked. That was ludicrous to me that kids would ever be put in a position where they're
Except-
like, "Hey, kids, get in this loaded rocket and just play."
Kids, except Star-Lord. Fred, I hate to burst your bubble, but I don't like Star-Lord.
He really doesn't
I
like
do not
Star.
like Star-Lord.
He gets mad every single time we watch those movies, and he just starts yelling at the TV. Like when
Star-Lord didn't redeem himself in the later.
Lio
No.
Convoy, thank you for the super chat, says, simple explanation, kids don't want to be Robin, they want to be Batman. Also, Superman greater than Kid MD.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And also...
I wasn't really personally comparing Doogie Howser to Superman as a kid. I just remember thinking that, you know, I thought it was kind of a cool idea of, like, someone... I don't even know if it was about someone my age. I just kind of liked the idea of a medical show, so...
Even the ludicrousness of it was entertaining in a way.
Yeah. So...
All right, next show, now that I've pissed everybody off.
No, everybody's fine.
Jerk.
Did we read Lyle Convoy's thing? Yeah, we did. Okay. Sorry, look, I'm just mile a minute here.
Hey,
Hey.
what's up?
Hey.
girl.
How you doing there, big guy?
I'm all right.
Want a Coke?
I'm all
Want a
right, thanks.
soda?
This made the list.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You're in trouble. Tim says, check Michael's pulse.
I'm fine.
I actually didn't know this made the list either.
I didn't either.
This isn't the one I signed off on.
Neuro, we said at the top of the thing that we picked shows that weren't the most iconic 80s shows, but that were still known. Because the most iconic 80s shows are usually loved by everybody. So we're picking ones that might have a little bit of debate. That's all we're saying. That's why these shows are like, not the ones you'd think of first, they're the ones you'd think of next. What's so funny?
Our fans.
He says, let me guess, Michael hates Highway to Heaven. All right, so...
1, 2, 3.
It happened again.
All right, what do you love about this show? And be quick about it. No, I'm kidding.
Why
Is
don't
this
I
what
just
last-
go to the kitchen and make you a sandwich?
Hey, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That was not a gender-related comment that I made.
I know.
You're just really mean.
I'm just going to make you feel uncomfortable.
That didn't work. Now, why
I
do
bet I could find a way to make you...
Don't. Why do you like this show?
Okay. So what I like about this show is, unlike something like Married with Children, it was trying to be fairly wholesome, and weirdly, like, I kind of just on principle didn't like this show until I was preparing for this, and I started looking a bunch of stuff up about the show, and apparently, even though Michael Landon himself was not religious at all, he came up with this concept of this show because he was sitting in traffic going to pick up his kids in like Beverly Hills area one day, and everybody was honking at each other and screaming, you know how you do in traffic, and he was looking around going, what if we just spent all this energy being nice to each other? And I mean, I know it sounds really hokey or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, that would be actually really great if people could just try to be nice to each other instead of just constantly being
Well, I mean, if we can do the
crappy.
opposite scientifically, we should be able to be nice. If we can be mean,
I mean,
why can't we just be nice?
And so I think he was trying to put something positive on TV that was like wholesome, much like Little House on the Prairie had been wholesome. And then apparently when they pitched the show and they were going to cast a much younger guy as the main guy who had been a cop, I can't remember the actor's name. His last name is French. Victor French, I think is
he
his
did look
name.
like 700 years old.
And he was on, he was on Little House.
Yeah.
And so, but they had it cast as a younger guy, but Michael Landon was like, no, I want my friend to be on the show. And so they cast him as the ex-cop and made him the whole disgruntled guy and basically pulled him out of like obscurity because he wasn't working anymore.
Right.
And then like they had canceled the show and the guy died like within a month or two, like of lung cancer, which was weird because they mentioned Michael Landon's character in the show mentions to him like, you probably shouldn't smoke. Like he was smoking.
Victor French died early on during the show?
No. He died like the show got canceled after like season 5 or
sorry
in
to
the
say,
middle of
okay.
season 5.
He passed away.
And
Right.
like people always thought that it was canceled because he died, but it wasn't. They had just canceled it and then he just died. It was already canceled by the time he died, but
Right.
anyway,
Died of a broken heart.
oh, Tim, that's heartbreaking. But no, I like the idea that it was something positive, although probably hokey. It's different. It was something unique.
Okay,
that was
so
on TV.
I can tell you why I didn't like this show. It had nothing to do with Michael Landon because I really liked Little House on the Prairie. I have nothing against Michael Landon. I have nothing against the idea of a show.
Yeah, because that's right up there with saying you hate Christopher Reeve. If you
I
hate
don't
Michael
have
Landon.
a problem with Michael Landon. That has nothing to do. This show had such, he's an angel, he's this, he's that, whatever. And I was in the middle of hell on earth in a Catholic convent school at the time. And I did not want to come home and watch stuff about angels and, because it's like, Michael Landon ain't at my school being nice to me.
So what you're saying is you had the Christopher Walken from the prophecy idea of like, would you really want to meet an angel?
It was just, I just didn't want any of that in my evening. It was like I'm away from this school for exactly 4 hours of consciousness.
You wanted a complete paradigm shift.
Yes.
Once you got home.
Yes.
And just separation.
Right.
I need a little time.
Can I please watch that guy with the mullet build a bomb with a paperclip? I'd rather watch that.
Yeah, MacGyver was awesome.
Yeah.
And frequently, this show would chase me from whatever channel it was on to almost anything else on the TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a memory of watching this show because I don't know why, I would instantly just switch to another show.
You run to another,
Well, because it feels like the thing your parents want you to watch.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
And Married with Children kind of didn't.
See, my parents were not all about me watching this show. I think it would just come on, and my mom liked Michael Landon.
Right.
So, and I liked Little House. And so I think I watched it just because I thought he was kind of, and I think this is a fan theory that I've read about, but at the time as a little kid, I was like, it's kind of like he's the same guy from Little House. So it's like watching a continuation of,
We have 2 super chats.
Lio Convoy, I'm going to take care of that in a second. Robert Pearson, thanks for the super chat. He says, anyone remember the Highwaymen? They were like Mad Max characters driving 18-wheelers, solving crimes, and the cab of the truck turned into a helicopter.
I only know this from...
Yeah, talk about that. I got to go get something for Lio Convoy.
Yeah, so...
Sure.
We do remember that show. We talked about it in the 80s Vehicles panel, which I believe is still on the internet right now on the YouTube channel. That show was weird.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I just saw the bits that when we were prepping for that.
Right, because it's never been brought out on video officially. The only copies are on YouTube, and they're off like recordings.
I remember thinking the Vehicles, especially if I had watched it at the time, I would have thought they were pretty freaking awesome for what they put together.
Yeah, especially the RV. I mean, as kind of derpy as it looks now, it was a huge prop back then.
Did you have to go on long family trips?
We never had an RV, so... But,
no, I mean, I think we rented a van once.
Right.
But most of the time, there's lots of things that we had to do. This could be its own topic for a show of, like, how did we pass time on a long car trip?
Right.
You'd try reading and then you'd get sick. But I would always imagine that I was in a vehicle like that had compartments and rooms and...
Right.
Ooh, kitty.
So, Lio Convoy, here's Jasper. He's our kitty cat. So, are you going to go up to the camera? He wants to see him.
Well, he can see him.
Well, not really. Not up against your gray sweater. He can see him totally perfectly camouflaged against my gray sweater.
He's sleepy, so I just wanted to make sure he stays sleepy.
Oh, was he napping?
Yeah, he was asleep.
Well, I mean, we were still online, so...
Can you see him?
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
Lio Convoy says, kitty, 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 kitty. Jason Anderson, he's so fluffy. Lio, are you okay? He says, so fluffy. Ah!
All right, so are we up to our 2 more or 1 more?
I don't think we have any more.
Oh, we're done. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Scuba Pete, do you still drink when Melinda gets up? That depends on whether or not you've had your intervention yet. So.
Yeah.
Beta Ray Bob says, Jasper looks great. What breed of cat is he? He is a Maine Coon. He is about...
I like his pointy,
hold him.
He's about 13 weeks old. He's sleepy, so I want to keep him kind of sleepy. Now he's really blending in.
Sal, good to see you. Thank you. I'm glad you woke up on time for work.
Wow, look at this super chat. Salvador, thank you so much. He says, sorry I'm late, just woke up for work, contributing to the toy fund. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sal.
Which of you 3 loves the Golden Girls?
We all love the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Girls is awesome.
Tim goes negative.
Tim doesn't like the Golden Girls, so Someone on the crew will hate something.
That is one show
JSP.
that my whole family would watch together.
JSP says we should do short-lived shows. That would be fairly easy to do. Midnight's Edge.
I need to pick out shows next time, and y'all don't get to see them until I put them up.
All right, that sounds great, Tim.
Are they just gonna
maybe
all
we
be
can
Alabama football games?
maybe we can have the audience like ask for shows and then send them in. Midnight's Edge, thank you so much. He says, sending some fundage for the cause. Keep up the good work. Nothing but love.
Oh, thank you so much, Midnight's Edge. Appreciate it.
Aloha Mora.
We gotta get together like you talked about on the World Class Bullshitters podcast and do a live stream together over at Midnight's Edge. That'd be awesome.
Peter Venkman says, did any of you watch Degrassi Junior High? I actually grew up watching Degrassi Junior High, like the one from Canada, like the real one. And I'm going to make Aaron watch it for our podcast.
It totally tripped me out when I found out that... No, I'm thinking of the wrong one.
You are.
I'm thinking of the later one.
You're thinking of
yes,
the...
Yes, I'm not going to do that again publicly. Thank you for stopping me.
And then somebody else says, oh, Mr. Scary says, my Dusty is part Maine Coon, part Norwegian Forest Cat. Well, yeah, so we've got 2 Norwegians upstairs, but this guy he's looking for trouble.
We're holding him in place using
Looking
magic.
for trouble.
Yes,
there he goes.
These are from Universal. These are the ones that you can purchase in the Harry Potter section. And one of the cool things about them is they have a little infrared emitter on the front, which I don't know what activates it. I'm actively trying to figure out if there's a way that I can wire these into the smart lights at my house so that my family can turn lights on and off using magic spells. But these are actually really nice. And one of the things that I really liked about them, because anytime you're going to spend $55 on something at a theme park, you'd like it to be nice.
Right.
These actually, I don't know if you want to hold this one. They've got a very nice resiny feel. Here, grasp it. Like they weren't as chintzy feeling as I expected.
Don't let him destroy that. That's $55.
He can't destroy it. I'm not letting him actually touch it. I'm letting him show off his standing abilities.
You're just driving him crazy with it.
He's going to bite that, and it's going to mar the end of that thing, and then we're going to be in trouble. Give me that.
You're just going to
Killjoy.
I'm going to put these away.
These are great. These are nice.
Yeah, I was
You know,
actually
Thunder
very-
Robots,
Happy
he
with
actually
this.
jumped right off the table and attacked the Alf doll. And so that's why I can't let him be down there, is because he's going to kill Alf.
I thought that would be
He's
okay
killing
with
him
you.
for his people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us on the live stream. We do this every other Saturday, so if you have any questions between now and then, you can hit us up on YouTube, Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or if you're a patron, you can hit us up on Patreon. But thank you guys for joining us. Hope this has been fun.
Yeah.
And I'm working on some videos right now, including a big retrospective on MacGyver, speaking of 80s television. So that'll be coming out this next week. And we will see you guys between now and then on the next live stream, which is 2 Saturdays from now. So it'll be...
That's how it works.
It'll be skipping next Saturday, and then it'll be the Saturday after the next. So
You guys know how this works.
yeah, you know how it works.
They seem to be
So-
here every time.
They are. So
And
we'll
we
see.
appreciate that.
Yeah, we do. So we will see you on the next one. And in the meantime, watch out for some new videos from us. You guys have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.